good to go down the road with you again. I've got a number of things lined up for you, not the least of which is Robert Farrington. Now, Robert is a student loan expert. He's somebody who promised he'd take care of all my kids' student loans. Actually, that's not true. But he understands the process. You know, and I know that President-elect Joe Biden said he's going to forgive a lot of that. It raised a lot of eyebrows, even on my side of the aisle, the Democrat side of the aisle. But Robert knows about these things, so let's bring him in. Robert, good to have you going down the road with us.
Hey, thanks so much for having me. Excited to be here.
Is this what we call a campaign promise that never came true, or what? Because he's talking about forgiving at least a minimum of $10K per person.
You know, it's hard to say. We've seen crazier things this year. It's a viable option, but I don't know if there's the political will for it. I mean, we definitely have the economics of it, and then there's the politics of it. I think the politics are going to be very hard to just blanketly wave a magic wand and forgive student loan debt.
So what's the politics of it? I mean, instantly where my mind goes is I had to pay mine, you got to pay yours. I mean, these people, or many of them, I realize the United States Senate has a whole bunch of rich old men in it, but, by and large, if you go to Congress, the halls of the U.S. House, you're going to find people that had student loans. I mean, is that part of the politics of it?
Well, I think the hard part is that only about 30% of Americans have student loan debt. And that's still a huge amount of people. But on the flip side, those that went to college are typically in the upper half of income earners and wealth in this country. And those that went to college typically earn $1 million more over their lifetime than those that didn't go to college. So in this world of bailouts and stimulus that we are seeing these days, by forgiving $10,000 in student loan debt, you're effectively giving the richest half of our country $10,000 for free. And so I think that rubs a lot of people the wrong way, especially the 70% that either paid off their student loans or, don't have student loans to begin with.
So you're in favor of this, are you not, Robert? I mean, is this something you support?
I'm in favor of reforming the process, and I think student loan forgiveness could be one fork. But here's the problem. Let's just say that, Joe Biden forgives $10,000 in student loans come February. If we don't fix the whole system of how college costs today and everything else, we're going to be back in the same exact situation with the same amount of student loan debt in 3 to 5 years. So what's the point? Why are we just going to give everyone $10,000? Why don't we just give every American $10,000 and let them do with it as they may if we're trying to do it for a stimulus type reason?
Because they won't spend it on student loans. you know that, and I know that. When you look at student loans, in many states, it's one of the lowest interest rate loan that people have. North Dakota doesn't have a history of that. North Dakota's student loan rate we have a thing called the Bank of North Dakota. We're one of the few states. I think North Dakota might be the only state with a state bank. That's an old story that goes along with that. That's too long for discussion here. But there's always been a lot of questions from North Dakota legislators, like I was, of why we have to charge the interest rates we have to charge. That maybe we could keep more young people here, or maybe we can use that as an incentive to stay here. Do you see that in other states? Because my one daughter. I've got 2 daughters. One is practicing law, and she's got her own law firm along with a bunch of other partners. The other daughter was recruited, and one of the recruitment tools was in the field of medicine was, hey, we'll help you with your student loans. Do you see a lot of that out there?
Yeah, so right now, if we don't change the law at all, there are 80 different programs in this country to help people get their loans forgiven. And those things range from public service loan forgiveness, which if you go and work in public service, after 10 years, any remaining balance is forgiven tax-free. You could go into a variety of fields, and about 48 states offer some type of state-based loan forgiveness for a variety of different programs. Some of them, like Kansas, if you live in certain counties, like you get loan forgiveness. I want to say Maryland, if you buy a house in Maryland, they will erase like $10,000 in your student loan debt. So like a lot of states have programs, the federal government has programs, and we estimate that even with no federal legislative changes, about 50% of all student loan borrowers qualify for something today. It might not be total loan forgiveness, but they probably will get something for their loans.
So what percentage out there doesn't ever pay back the loan? They file bankruptcy, they go delinquent, they do whatever. But I can name some people in my past that never paid off their student loans like I did.
Yeah, so right now we have about a 10% default rate in this country. And I think those are the people that probably do need the most help. You know, they're the ones that are struggling with unemployment, struggling with jobs, maybe never got the income. Maybe there's other factors, right? Disability, but not total, right? If you're totally disabled in this country, you get your loans forgiven. But what if you're 50% disabled and now you can't really do anything above minimum wage work? You know, there should be programs to help them. And there are some, and you could argue we could improve those programs. But right now, about 10% of people struggle to pay their loans. And student loan default is the worst financial move you can make because, you know, the federal government can come after your money anytime. If you want to get a tax refund, they'll take it. If you make it to Social Security, they'll take your Social Security check to pay these loans. So,
with interest,
like, not. Oh yeah, you'll never get out of that hole because you'll have all that interest and fees and everything, and they're just going to take your money, and that's where the people get in a vicious cycle of collections, and it's really hard to dig those people out.
So, Robert, you can describe, well, you can let people know what the word forbearance is, but right now federal loans are automatically in forbearance until January 31st. Why, and what? Those are the big two questions I have for you.
Well, so the forbearance is, I like to call it a pause. It's a better way to think about it. No payments and 0% interest. So basically, since March of last year, well, not last year, we're at the end of the year. So March of this year, all the student loans have been paused. So people have not made any kind of payments until January 31st. The expectation is that Biden's going to extend that to at least March, if not July. And why is we're trying to give people relief. So the average student loan payment in America right now today is $393 a month. So by pausing those payments, you basically gave everyone with student loans $393 more a month that they could help weather this storm of the pandemic that we're facing. And so that's the why. And should we do it? Continue it? I don't know. I'm not the greatest economist at this, but I mean, I think there's value there. But I think, you know, people do need to start making progress on their debts as well, whether we reform the system or do other options.
Okay, here's another question then. Can he? I mean, with the stroke of a pen, can he go ahead and do this without going through the halls of Congress and selling them on it and having legislation empowering him to do it? Can he even do this?
So all the experts point to yes, but it's a yes with an asterisk, right? Because we all know that it will likely be challenged in court. It'll probably go to the Supreme Court. You know, it'll probably get tied up for years. But it looks like he can. But there's another problem with this, is that if he does it unilaterally with executive order, chances are that the loan forgiveness that he grants will also be taxable income. Because in this country, any debt that's forgiven, unless Congress says otherwise, it's considered taxable income. So if he wiped away $10,000 student loan debt, everyone with student loans will suddenly get $10,000 in income and owe the IRS $3,000. And that'll be a little scary. So the way you get around that is Congress acts and says it's not taxable. And he doesn't have the power to just say it's not taxable. He does have the power potentially to erase it, but I don't think he can change the tax law unilaterally.
See, I'm not sure that he would have the support on either side of the aisle, because I heard a number of Democrats during the campaign say they didn't agree as one of the planks in his platform to do this.
And I'm with you. I think, you know, we need to solve the student loan debt crisis, but it actually starts with the paying for college issue. And, you know, what do you tell a high school senior? What if you're a high school senior right now and you're applying to college, because we're going to come up on that season right now, and all of a sudden, you know, all these people get their loans forgiven and you're looking at it like, did I miss the boat? Like, what am I supposed to do? I still got to take out student loans to pay for college next year. And so I just don't think that it makes sense to forgive one time. It could happen, but it needs to be part of a whole comprehensive package that addresses things from how are we paying for college? How are we holding schools accountable to the outcomes of their students and how much they're charging? And, how do we solve the existing borrowers, the 43 million people that have loans, to make it easier for them to repay their loans? Like, it has to all come together, because if you just do one without the other, you're just going to be in the same mess. It doesn't fix anything.
So there's been a lot of talk about free college, treating it as though it's K-12, which really isn't free anymore. If you play football, you're going to get dinged. Whatever. You and I both know how that works. But they're talking about free college, but they're talking about it in, the community college level. I've heard those conversations. Yep. We need plumbers. We need welders. We need, diesel mechs. We need young nurses, those type of things. Do you ever see a scenario where that's going to happen?
I do, because the funny thing is about half of the states right now offer free community college to their residents. So we're not very far off from that. And on the flip side, going to community college for 2 years and maybe transferring to your state school is probably one of the best ways to pay for college, because now you've knocked out your undergraduate, you go to state school for 2 years, you maybe spend $10,000, $15,000, and you have a degree. It's a fantastic way to go. Yep. So I think it is a solid approach for people and them to pursue.
It's been proven to be one of the best investments you can possibly make. I won't say what college you have to go to get the best out of it, but I will say this. What my daughters did put them in a place where at the mid-30s, they never would have been at had they not gone to college. So, Robert, thanks. Thanks for your time. I appreciate it.
Hey, thanks for having me. Hopefully this enlightens some people. Yep.
So here's the thing, folks. It's got a rough road to hoe. I mean, there are people on both sides of the aisle that don't support it, At a time when we're putting out there a stimulus package or another close to $1 trillion, the nation's going to be taking on a lot of debt. And I've said this before, and I'll say it again. The Republicans will start talking about, deficit as soon as Joe Biden is sworn in. They didn't want to talk about it for the last 4 years, but they're sure going to want to talk about it now. When we come back, I had a chance to visit with Kevin Cramer. And you know what? We need to take a listen to that right after this as we go down the road.
Capital City Restaurant Supply is your one-stop shop for quality restaurant products for the large to small kitchens. Commercial-grade restaurant and bar supplies, limb game processing equipment, refrigeration, dinnerware, and smallware. We sell everything including the kitchen sink for manufacturers for the chef and all of us. Open to the public since 1971, we are veteran-owned and North Dakota proud. Let us take care of your restaurant and home kitchen needs today by visiting us at 1414 Interstate Loop in Bismarck or on the web at capitalcityrestaurantsupply.com.
Hi, I'm Dennis Haugen, along with my sons Andy and Mike, and we're showing our support for wind energy in North Dakota.
Wind energy has provided farmers like us with a steady stream of income that's not tied to the weather like crops and cattle are.
Another bonus is that wind farm owners are required to maintain the roads leading up to the turbines. Because of that, oftentimes these roads are the best in the county.
Wind energy is good for landowners, it's good for the land, it's good for our economy, and it's good for North Dakota.
For the greatest selection and full menu offering is the Four Seasons Restaurant and Ice Cream. Succulent sandwiches, big breakfasts served all day, and delicious desserts. Easy access in and out for campers and RVs. The Four Seasons Restaurant at the top of Main Street, Garrison.
Are you a thrill seeker, sightseer, or day tripper? The Ford Bronco Sport SUV is built for you. Four Bears Casino is giving away a 2021 Ford Bronco Sport loaded with a ton of interior space, safari-style roof, smooth suspension for any terrain, and easy-to-clean surfaces. Qualify now just by playing your favorite slots at Four Bears Casino. Double points on Sundays. Also get in on Super Senior Wednesdays, slot turning Thursdays, and hot seats on Wednesdays and Thursdays. Spin into Four Bears Casino and Lodge for chances to win.
Some things in life are hard. That's why banking shouldn't be. Cornerstone Bank.
Welcome back to Down the Road. You know, this is such a unique opportunity, what Beck Communications has put together, and it's fun. It's fun for me. I'm glad they included me in this whole process. As you know, my day job is a radio talk show host. I work on the News and Views radio network, and it's actually heard somewhere close to you, obviously. But here's the point. Sometimes we're going to get a guest where we think that interview was worth you hearing here as we go down the road, and vice versa. So we're going to use some of that sound, and today I had an opportunity to visit with United States Senator Kevin Cramer. Take a listen to this. I want to talk to you about, obviously, the question you knew I was going to ask, which is this election over? Are you ready now to say that Joe Biden is going to be president of the United States?
Well, I've been saying for a long time that people who don't think that's one of the two possibilities are kidding themselves, and if they don't understand it's a likelihood, they're kidding themselves. Obviously, there are still some legal challenges that the president is making that they want to play out, but it's, Joe, from my perspective, and especially coming from a small state like we come from, where we understand the value and importance of the Electoral College, it's hard to have the Electoral College vote and then say that you're going to still argue against that, right? So, yeah, I'm preparing. I will tell you that. I'm preparing for him to be the president. My staff has already been lining up meetings with his nominees to be on the cabinet, especially those that will come before the committees of jurisdiction that I sit on. They're the highest priority, but others as well. But I also understand that there are still some legal challenges to play out. There are also some things that we need to continue to explore, and whether that relates to trying to overturn this election, and probably more likely and more importantly, how to ensure confidence going forward, I think that's all appropriate.
You talked about your staff, researching the people that he nominated, which is your job. I get that. Right. Your staff should be. You've got people that you've got to vote for, their placement in that cabinet. But you say one of two possibilities, you're getting closer. What does it take? I mean, with all due respect, Senator Cramer, the Supreme Court rejected Wayne Stangeum and others, attorney generals, efforts to go ahead and challenge this at the Supreme Court level. We've seen lawsuit after lawsuit denied. We've seen the leader of your caucus, the majority leader of the Senate, come out and say that Joe Biden will be president of the United States. I mean, why would you be the last one to the dance on this?
Well, I'm not anywhere near the last one to the dance on this, Joe. And to be clear, what I said earlier is telling people it is likely he's going to be the president of the United States. I mean, he has not just won the election, he's won the Electoral College. I mean, that is the final arbiter. Now there is the revealing of those votes and the confirmation of them by the joint session of Congress, which I, by the way, have sat in on a couple of times, and it's really fairly fascinating. A lot of members don't, but I have. And I'd love to, at some point, talk about how Joe Biden pushed back against Democrats 4 years ago in that very, very same process, who tried to do the thing that some are talking about doing in this next one. But just to be clear, I'm not just asking them to research them. We are scheduling meetings. I'm scheduling meetings with Biden nominees so that I can interview them as well as, of course, studying them.
No, I don't mean to beat this, but you say it's one of two possibilities. The man is president-elect. We're going to need you to work with him. We're going to need him to know that you treated it in a way where you understood and appreciated the election process. We're sitting here, Kevin Cramer, with a nation that now could be in a place where we don't trust elections anymore. For me, yes, I'm a Democrat, but other Republicans now, after the Electoral College vote, have said, this is over. The election is over. Joe Biden will be president on January 20th. And so I get to ask you one more time, will Joe Biden be president on January 20th?
Joel, it is hard for me to imagine a scenario where he isn't going to be sworn in as president on January 20th. It is not just one of the two possibilities, is the very likely probability that that's going to happen. That doesn't mean, however, that we shouldn't continue to look into situations and issues and what vote by mail looks like, what are some of the pitfalls. And for that matter, if we find people that have committed fraud knowingly, to prosecute. And we know some situations where people have voted twice, and those aren't the widespread things that are going to overturn an election, but we need to get to the bottom of it and make sure that it doesn't continue to happen or become habitual. But yes,
but,
it is.
But Senator, it has been. In Georgia, the votes were counted 3 times. They were.
Yeah, but never, Joel, never was there an audit of the signature match, which is the point of the problem.
Why wouldn't I trust the Secretary of State of Georgia when he's from your party? Why wouldn't I trust the process? Why wouldn't I trust the head of the election process that the president picked and then fired when he didn't get the response he wanted? He testified yesterday in front of Senator Johnson's committee. Why wouldn't I trust these people that are from your side of the aisle, including the Attorney General Barr, who said there's no evidence of mass fraud in this election?
That would overturn the election, right. So several things. First of all, with regard to the people who represent the places where there are not just allegations of fraud, but hundreds of people that have signed affidavits. Remember, we're supposed to believe witnesses, or at least give them the benefit of the doubt. And where there are these irregularities, if you're the Secretary of State or the governor, or frankly, the United States Senator in most cases from a state, you're going to defend your state. I understand that, especially if you're the one responsible for this situation where there are these allegations. To your point, though, I think that is an important one. People not trusting the outcome of an election is not an insignificant issue in the freest system in the world. But this isn't a new phenomenon, as you might recall. I mean, we had a bogus impeachment. We had a bogus special counsel that had no evidence, and the only evidence that there was in the impeachment was the president's defense, which everybody that today is calling these allegations debunked and discredited, we're calling the Hunter Biden allegations as debunked and discredited, and lo and behold, guess what? There's a laptop.
But Senator, that's not the issue at hand. Right now, what we're talking about is whether or not Joe Biden won the election. So let me ask it in a different way.
Sure.
Do you think Donald Trump won the election?
I do not. I mean, I think it's pretty clear that the Electoral College voted. I mean, it's not an allegation; it's a fact. They voted the other day, and the Electoral College voted for Joe Biden by, frankly, I think it was the exact same margin as Donald Trump had 4 years ago. That is the determining factor. That's not in question. What is there are still some outstanding legal challenges, and they ought to be able to be played out. They ought to be able to have the evidence presented. It may very well be, Joel, that because the remedy is not likely, in fact, it's almost impossibly going to be to overturn the election, a lot of this information is probably going to become more prevalent and greater scrutinized after President-elect Biden becomes President Biden on January 20th. And at that time, hopefully we'll have a lot more information, a lot more time, in a calmer environment in which to scrutinize.
I couldn't get him to, could I? I tried every way I could. I started here, started there, went here, there, and then I even actually went around and said, do you think Donald Trump won the election? And just a yes or a no. That's what I was looking for, a yes or a no. Mitch McConnell, everybody knows who Mitch McConnell is. Not exactly the most bipartisan person you're ever going to meet in the United States Senate. Fair? Mitch McConnell took to the floor of the United States Senate, hooked one of those microphones up to himself, and congratulated Joe Biden on his win. He pointed out that Joe Biden is the president-elect. And he pointed out that Joe Biden on January 20th will be sworn in to be the 46th president of the United States. How hard is that? Your leader did it. So what is Senator Kramer afraid of? I'll tell you what, he's afraid of ticking off Donald Trump. That's what he's afraid of. He has been such a supporter of Donald Trump. I get that. I don't agree with it, but I get it. But there's a time that you got to jump off the ship. The ship is going down, and it's time to get off because you get paid to work with the next administration. That's what you get paid to do. Greg Johnson joins us when he comes back. He's Fargo's postmaster. We'll talk to him about all these Christmas packages right after this.
Jeez, what a mess. Look at that. There's roof stuff everywhere. It's so embarrassing. Ruins the neighborhood. Come on, humans. Let's get this fixed.
Don't let your roof go to the dogs. Call America's Best Contractors for your free estimate.
Need a new woof?
After checking with the rest, go with the best. America's Best Contractors. 258-2412. Online at americasbestcontractorsincorporated.com.
In southwestern and south central North Dakota, on any given day at any given moment, a Dakota Community Bank and Trust customer is logging in or signing on to do their online or mobile banking. We believe that community banking can blend both the past with down-home customer service in-house and the future with modern banking conveniences and technology for our customers anywhere, like here or here, all while honoring our long-standing tradition of community-first oriented banking here at Dakota Community Bank and Trust.
My wife was diagnosed with early stage Alzheimer's. We talked about it and we kind of decided we'd be a little bit proactive and try to start making provisions. So we started looking here, and Eventide worked out to be pretty much the perfect answer. I guess I didn't expect it to be so nice. The staff here are terrific. We enjoy it.
They say when the going gets tough, the tough get going. At OK Tire, we're here to keep you going. From Firestone tires and replacements to retreads and even Firestone tracks, we have you covered. Our certified Firestone experts are ready to get you back up and running, no matter if you're on site or in the field, saving you time and money. OK Tire, we keep the tough going.
Now is the best time to plan for your 2021 farm equipment needs. North Dakota-based Summers Manufacturing is currently offering early order savings. Take advantage of big savings on North America's broadest tillage line, including the Super Kohler Samurai and the innovative VRT Renegade, as well as the best built, best backed land rollers in the industry. Talk to your Summers dealer today or go to summersmfg.com to learn more about early order savings available on all Summers equipment.
Hey, you stayed with us. I appreciate that. We're still going down the road together. It's that time of year. It's the time of year when people who have been married as long as I've been married start scratching their head and say, all right, what do you get her? And if you do buy her something this year in a pandemic year, you're probably going to have it shipped to home. Well, that's where the Greg Johnsons of the world come through. Greg Johnson is the postmaster in Fargo. Greg, good to have you going down the road with us.
Hey, glad to be here, Joel.
No busy time of year for you, though. No big deal. Just ordinary, right?
Extraordinary. Let's say it that way this year.
Do you add extra staff?
We did this year a little more extra staff than actually we have in the last few years.
Did you do that before the holiday season because of the COVID? Were you already seeing an increase?
We've been seeing an increase since last March. Actually, when the COVID really hit, it just ballooned then, and it really hasn't went down. It's just increased now that we're at the holiday peak season.
I always wonder how it's going to come back, whether or not the people that I used to drive to go see, I guess, put it this way, whether or not I'm going to see packages at my front door from you for a long, long time, because I think I'm going to. I think people have learned to shop in different ways, and I'm not convinced that, come April, come May, when hopefully we're all have had the vaccine, that it's going to change for you. I'm not, Greg.
No, we're not expecting that to. We expect the volumes to stay up. They've actually, since Amazon has been coming in over the last 5-6 years, they just increase every year anyway. And I think this is just going to speed that process up.
Greg, I'm going to talk to you about a guy named Jeff Traum. He's a good friend, somebody that I worked for. He was a board of director of the utility that I ran for years. But, and I'm not trying to involve you in some sympathy thing, anything like that. But for years, Jeff Traum was that guy that I was out there hauling mail on a rural route. he was that guy that drove down your driveway with the big package and left it at your front door and those type of things. Went out of his way. You'd put a ring of deer sausage in the mailbox, which I'm not sure if that's legal, to say thank you at some point during the year. You know, that connection from you, who oversees all those people in Fargo that need to get their job done, all the way out to the Jeff Troms of the world who we lost because of COVID. How does that get organized? How do you stay in touch with all those different moving parts?
Daily. I oversee the 2 stations in Fargo and the downtown office. We're in touch daily from almost the time we get up until the last carrier's in. We don't rest until the last carrier's in. We follow up with any of our employees who are feeling ill or not feeling ill, or just are showing any signs, in the same way I'm sure any other company would do.
How about all the other things that you're asked to do? I mean, I've waited in line at the post office as that line moved through, no complaints there, but somebody's looking to buy some stamps. Somebody's looking to, and I don't think you go there for your passport photo anymore, but I did. All those other things that somebody knocks on your door and says, this is a service I need. Does that have to slow down at a time like this?
No, it does not, Joel. We are still doing the passports, still doing the pictures. The lobbies are open normal hours like they always were. We social distance. We got marks on the floor like all the stores do. We require masks, like everybody else. We're following pretty much the same rules all the retailers do that you see when you're out shopping.
This is a question that I didn't ask you to come on for, but it's one I want to ask. When I was at the Fargo post office, there's a lot of different ethnicity in the post office, and there were individuals that came and they needed service from you, and they got service from you. But do your folks ever struggle with the language, people who struggle with English? I mean, how do you deal with that?
I think we deal with it in the same manner everybody does. Sometimes we'll even have to just write it out just to get the message across if that needs to be. But most of the time we're able to figure out what they want, what they're trying to say. But if not, we can go to pencil and paper. No problem with that.
That's something I don't know why the heck I didn't think of, but I sure should have thought of. How do you keep everything safe? This time of year, you're going to ship some things that are breakable. You're going to ship some things that you definitely want to get there. How do you keep all your packages safe?
Well, we're pretty conscious of how we handle the customer's mail, whether it's a package, a letter, a flat, a magazine, whatever. I mean, our doors are secure. Our mail is secure when it comes in the building. It's secure and locked when it leaves out on a truck to the next building, which is secure again. They're very secure. You have to have certain codes to get in the back rooms. There really are a lot of things in place with the inspection service and everything else to keep that mail secure.
So, Greg, this is where you tell me it's none of my business if you so desire and you're not hurting my feelings. But if you're postmaster, my guess is you've worked in the Fargo post office for a while. So how many years have you been with the Postal Service?
38 years.
That's a lot. That is a lot. You must love it or you still wouldn't be there. So if you've been there 38 years, what's the biggest thing that's changed from the beginning to now?
Automation, completely. When I came in, everything was done manually. There were no machines in the buildings other than one little letter sorting machine. Everything was done manually, and now everything is done by automation, almost everything. A lot of our larger packages we can't do automated, or maybe a letter or a flat don't read, but 95% of everything is automated.
So say somebody sends a letter the old-fashioned way where they forget the address or don't put the zip code, those type of things on. Do they still get there? Do you still try to get them there?
Oh, yes. If we can determine, if they forget the zip code, usually we can determine by the city, as long as they have the city and state right. Our machines read a lot of that. It's amazing what they can read and what they can determine and put a barcode on, a non-barcoded letter, and get that mail even into our automated stream. But yeah, there's not too many letters that we can't find a home for.
That was always the pride of a gentleman from Rutland, North Dakota, that I talked to. this gentleman from Rutland, not the one I'm talking about, but he was a longtime legislator. Everybody kind of knew who he was. I forget his name, so obviously I'm not proving my point. But somebody sent a letter to just him. They wrote it out. It was a unique name. The letter got there. It got to Rutland, North Dakota. I mean, could you imagine that in today's world? But I think that says a lot about the post office and how hard you tried for years. The packaging back 38 years ago when you started, that you'd put something in and say, hey, can you get there, versus the packaging you use now. Describe that if you would.
Well, the packaging is so different. There's so much more. It seems like everything is in cardboard now. Everyone gets some Amazon, some way or the other. It comes in cardboard, but the old-fashioned packaging used to be more like wrapping paper, different things like that, where it's a lot more secure now. Now there's more rules with it, and people want to keep it safer. And with our automation, not handling it manually, packaging it right is much more important than maybe it did in the past when we're handling it on a machine. But the packaging and the taping and how we teach the customer to do it is really a lot more secure than it was way back 38 years ago.
You know, the competition that you have now versus what you had 38 years ago as well, do they just get to kind of cherry pick, and you're left to do all the work? I mean, what's the sense from the U.S. Postal Service workers when it comes to that?
Well, we take anything that anyone wants to give us, whether it's if UPS and FedEx this time of year, they kind of shut down things a little bit and turn everything over to us. Everything that Amazon is turning on to us, anything our priority customers are giving to us, we take it. We have the means to get it out. We go to every address every day. None of the other companies can say that, but we do go to every address every day. So the more they can bring us, the more we'll take, and happy to deliver it.
Okay, I got 30 seconds left. If I mail something for Christmas, still going to get there?
Still going to get there.
Really?
But the word of the day is mail today.
I don't doubt it one bit. Greg, you're busy as all get out. You took some time out for us. Thank you. Thanks for that.
I know. Appreciate it. Thanks, Joel.
They do a great job. When we come back, Brandon Lunick is going to join us. He, you know what, the Moorhead area school superintendent. What's it like during times of a COVID to do this? And of course, Minnesota has a different footprint when it comes to schools and keeping kids in schools than we do here on the North Dakota side. So let's visit with a man that I never liked visiting with, the school superintendent, although he's a good one, right after this.
Howdy, folks. It's a Caroline Cafe. I reckon it's time you're due for a hearty meal. So saddle up for the day with one of our Hey Boston breakfast homemade soups. Fill your grill at our salad bar. Sink your teeth into our famous Caroline burger and barbecue ribs. Top it off with spur rattling pie with a calm roll that's sure to put a smile on even the toughest outlaws. Shake the dirt off the boots each night and warm up with the gang. Tell them about it, Stacy.
I can't wait to see you at the county line.
Since opening in Hebron in 1940, Dakota Community Bank and Trust has been your hometown bank. Our mission has been to provide modern banking convenience with old-fashioned hometown service. We've grown with the communities we serve through year-round events, countless sponsorships, and nearly 7,000 hours of volunteering each year. Learn more about our 80-year history at dakotacommunitybank.com.
Jeez, what a mess. Look at that. There's roof stuff everywhere. It's so embarrassing. Ruins the neighborhood. Come on, humans. Let's get this fixed.
Don't let your roof go to the dogs. Call America's Best Contractors for your free estimate.
Need a new woof?
After checking with the rest, go with the best. America's Best Contractors. 258-2412. Online at americasbestcontractorsincorporated.com.
For the greatest selection and full menu offering, it's the Four Seasons Restaurant and Ice Cream Parlor in Garrison. Succulent sandwiches, big breakfasts served all day, and delicious desserts. Easy access in and out for campers and RVs. The Four Seasons Restaurant at the top of Main Street, Garrison.
Are you a thrill seeker, sightseer, or day tripper? The Ford Bronco Sport SUV is built for you. Four Bears Casino is giving away a 2021 Ford Bronco Sport loaded with a ton of interior space, safari-style roof, smooth suspension for any terrain, and easy-to-clean surfaces. Qualify now just by playing your favorite slots at Four Bears Casino. Double points on Sundays. Also get in on Super Senior Wednesdays, slot turning Thursdays, and hot seats on Wednesdays and Thursdays. Spin into Four Bears Casino and Lodge for chances to win.
Some things in life are hard. That's why banking shouldn't be. Cornerstone Bank.
Okay, I didn't hide the fact that people like Dr. Brandon Lunick scare the heck out of me because they're school superintendents, and I still have trauma for when I wasn't behaving back in K-12 school and got hauled to the superintendent's office. But that's a personal side. A lot of things going on. Dr. Lunick, he runs the Moorhead area of schools. He is the superintendent there, and we'd like to welcome him in and have him come down the road with us. Dr. Lunick, good to have you on.
Thanks for having me, Joel. I appreciate the opportunity to spend some time with you today.
So, let's go back to your early days in education and ask you if you knew that someday you were going to have to be the leader of a school district during a pandemic and how easy it was going to be.
Well, if I went back to my early days in education like you, I probably spent a few hours or so with a few administrators, but not for the right reasons, right? So, I grew up, and my grandmother was a teacher, and my grandfather was heavily involved with sports on the officiating side. So it was fun to get to hang out with them in Valley City, North Dakota, growing up, and with Grandma taking me to her classroom and stuff. That's how my love of education got started. And as I got into it and got into teaching, I was able to teach Phi Ed and health for 8 years, and then shifted over to this administration positions. And if you would have told me back in 1997 when I started in this business that we'd be dealing with the pandemic in 2020, I wouldn't have believed you. And if we would have known the challenges that are involved in leading through a pandemic and just getting through every day of this pandemic, supporting families, supporting teachers, supporting a community, it's a very challenging job, but it's also very rewarding knowing that we're still doing our absolute best to deliver on what we know we need to do on a daily basis, and that's move our community forward and help continue to support our kids and move them forward as well. But it's definitely not the traditional environment that we're accustomed to, so very challenging, yes.
What you just described is a lifetime of dedication from one generation to another, but a passion when it comes to making sure people get educated and have the best chance at that big old world out there when they come through. So, you've had to grade. You've had to sit down and say, okay, does this person get an A, they get a B, they get a C, those type of things. Grade how we're doing. And I'm not just singling out Moorhead. I know you talk to other administrators, but grade how we're doing when it comes to achieving the goal of making sure that student gets the best education they can with the way we're educating now.
Well, Joel, I think there's a big challenge in answering that question. One is I think when we talk about grading ourselves, we're always the hardest on ourselves first, right? And I'm just going to be frank and say that I think if you talk to our staff and even some of the members of our community, I think they're going to say, you know what, I'd probably give the Moorhead Area Public Schools a B and maybe even a B minus, because, I know that there's families out there that we've got to continue to connect with. And I hear from our staff that there's just families out there that they're having a difficult time to connect with. And I don't want to continue to focus on the negative, because for some of the negatives, I do get positives. I look at my daughter, for example, and she's really thriving in this distance learning type environment, but it's not the same for everybody. And when you take and you look at each individual, each individual on a case-by-case basis, there are opportunities out there where I think we're doing well, and then there's challenges out there where I know that we have to be better. And I'm not going to run from that. I will never run from that, because one of the things when you grow up I also enjoyed my time coaching and teaching, and you know what? Every day we've got to continue to put our best foot forward to make it better for everyone that's around us, and that takes effort, that takes time, and it takes a lot of energy. But I think overall, I think that's what we've signed up for, and that's what we've got to continue to do.
So tell Coach Feeney, from an old referee that got 2 knees cut in him, and it took the second knee to get me off the field, congratulations on his son going to a fine university, which obviously
it's a good thing you brought that up, because I just texted Kevin this morning that it was nice seeing him on Twitter in the right color green. So I was excited to see that, and Kevin replied to me and said that he's all in on this green. So he's got 4 years to prove himself to me. So we'll see how this goes.
Okay, watch me get in trouble, and then you stay out of it. Okay.
Okay. All right.
I always said, if you want an absolutely great job, then go to NDSU. If you want to own the company, go to UND. But that's a whole other side. There, I got in trouble and you didn't. Dr. Luenick, one of the things that the classroom brought to me, and hopefully I brought to it, was there were certain subjects I loved. I loved political science. I loved, obviously, history. I loved math. Those were classes where I paid attention and could help others. Obviously, science wasn't my strong suit. There were grammar. There's another one I struggle with. So how much is lost there? I know your instructors are good. I know they're very good at what they can do. But when you don't have kids in a classroom together, there are other kids that can help kids, and they're not there anymore. Does there get to be a wider separation?
I think from a human standpoint and the social standpoint, I've talked to a few parents that have kids in the district. And they say that's the biggest thing that their child is missing, is that interaction with their peers. And those parents that talk to me aren't shy about hiding what their kids are missing, and they shouldn't be shy about what their kids are missing. And the big underlying message that I'm getting is that it's school and education in general is larger than the books and what you teach in the curriculum. There's that implied curriculum, or what I call the hidden curriculum, and that social piece and that social aspect that when you talk to folks, a lot of them, that's what they tell you they're missing. And if you talk to some of our teachers, especially those teachers that are in the trades and industries and the choirs and the bands and the orchestras and the arts, they'll tell you that their kids are missing out on an experience that they just can't get through a computer. And they're starving to get their kids back so they can get them in and wrap around them not only the caring that they have and the experience that they want to provide, but just being able to see them face to face and provide to them that safe environment that we know is critical for some of these kids. And so for me and talking to you today, it's so much larger than what you find written in a textbook. It is the social piece. It's everything that comes with it. And I'll tell you, the sooner that we can get this pandemic behind us and get our kids back into the regular routine and do it safely, the better off our communities are going to be, our schools are going to be, our teachers are going to be, and bottom line, families are going to be in the end. So
that's an absolutely great point. Families as well. I have a minute left, and you were pretty happy with what Governor Walz said. Priority of getting people kids back in schools?
Absolutely, I'm extremely happy about that announcement yesterday. There are some challenges that come with it because there's some things that we have to ensure that we get done, and the one thing that we're going to try to continue to work through is to make sure that those parameters in the guidance that was sent out on December 16th are met, because that new guidance goes into effect on January 18th, and we're going to prioritize and do everything we can. We have a meeting today with our ICT team, and we'll discuss exactly what we need to do to bring those kids back safely and as soon as we can.
Well, let me do a little grading. I work every day with a woman on radio named Bonnie Amistadi. She has a son that's in your school system. She would give you much higher than a B minus. In fact, hers would be the first letter in the alphabet. So take that as the compliment it's meant to be. Thank you. Thanks for coming on the road with us.
Thank you, Jewel. I appreciate it.
You bet. When we come back, snow days. In West Virginia, they decided, or at least one superintendent, just like Dr. Lunick said, you know what? Take one. We need one. Let's talk about it right here as we go down the road.
Howdy, folks. It's the County Line Cafe. I reckon it's time you're due for a hearty meal. So saddle up for the day with one of our Hey Bossin breakfast homemade soups. Fill your grill at our salad bar. Sink your teeth into our famous County Line burger and barbecue ribs. Top it off with spoon rattling pie with a cum roll that's sure to put a smile on even the toughest outlaws. Shake the dirt off the boots each night and warm up with the gang. Tell them about it, Stacy.
I can't wait to see you at the county line.
Hi, I'm Dennis Haugen, along with my sons Andy and Mike, and we're showing our support for wind energy in North Dakota.
Wind energy has provided farmers like us with a steady stream of income that's not tied to the weather like crops and cattle are.
Another bonus is that wind farm owners are required to maintain the roads leading up to the turbines. Because of that, oftentimes these roads are the best in the county.
Wind energy is good for landowners, it's good for the land, it's good for our economy, and it's good for North Dakota.
Capital City Restaurant Supply is your one-stop shop for quality restaurant products for the large to small kitchens. Commercial-grade restaurant and bar supplies, limb game processing equipment, refrigeration, dinnerware, and smallware. We sell everything including the kitchen sink from trusted manufacturers for the chef and all of us. Open to the public since 1971, we are veteran-owned and North Dakota proud. Let us take care of your restaurant and home kitchen needs today by visiting us at 1414 Interstate Loop in Bismarck or on the web at capitalcityrestaurantsupply.com.
My wife was diagnosed with early stage Alzheimer's. We talked about it and we kind of decided we'd be a little bit proactive and try to start making provisions. So we started looking here, and Eventide worked out to be pretty much the perfect answer. I guess I didn't expect it to be so nice. The staff here are terrific. We enjoy it.
They say when the going gets tough, the tough get going. At OK Tire, we're here to keep you going. From Firestone tires and replacements to retreads and even Firestone tracks, we have you covered. Our certified Firestone experts are ready to get you back up and running, no matter if you're on site or in the field, saving you time and money. OK Tire, we keep the tough going.
Now is the best time to plan for your 2021 farm equipment needs. North Dakota-based Summers Manufacturing is currently offering early order savings. Take advantage of big savings on North America's broadest tillage line, including the Super Kohler Samurai and the innovative VRT Renegade, as well as the best-built, best-backed land rollers in the industry. Talk to your Summers dealer today or go to summersmfg.com to learn more about early order savings available on all Summers equipment.
It's been good going down the road with you. Just some closing thoughts. There was a radio station back home, still is there, but it was the radio station that we would tune into on snowy days in the winter. It was KBMW out of Wapaton. And there was a gentleman that I ended up hiring to work with me in radio another day, but his radio name anyway, was Gary Rogers. Longtime sports broadcaster. Some of you know who he is. In fact, many of you probably do. But Gary Rogers would give all of those, Wyndmere, no school in Wyndmere today, no school in Wapaton today, no school in Fairmont today. And then it would get to almost the last one always. And he'd go, and Hankinson Maniter, 2 hours late. And it would just drive us nuts. The whole house would be like, Cliff Rao, my school superintendent, a good guy, dedicated to education, would never call off school for a snow day unless he absolutely positively had to. And so there we were, all these hike camp kids, 7 of us all crammed into a 800 square foot house, just waiting to hear that school was canceled for that snow day. Well, there's a school superintendent in West Virginia, because kids are learning by distance now. And so the question becomes, do you really need a snow day? There's a school superintendent in West Virginia that decided, you know what? I'm going to let our kids out for this snow day. Take a listen to this. Let's go down to the last paragraph where he says, you bet we're going to have a snow day. So please enjoy a day of sledding, hot chocolate, and cozy fires. Take a picture of your kids in snow hats and that they'll outgrow by next year, and read books that you have wanted to, and lose yourself into, but haven't had the time. You know what? They're going to have the time now. Let's go on. We'll return to the serious and urgent business of growing up on Thursday. But for tomorrow, go build a snowman. How cool is that? What do you think those kids are saying? You think they're high-fiving? A lot of schools aren't going to grant snow days. He got it right. One more thing I want to throw out at you before we head out. Governor Doug Burgum decided he put hundreds of thousands of dollars into Dave Andal's race for the House. You know what? Jeff Nelson, here's the point. Governor Burgum decided to bill the state of North Dakota for the lawsuit, saying he should get to pick that legislator. He got beat in the lawsuit. He should have to pay the bill. We'll talk about it on another trip down the road. Until then, good riding with you.